We're live.
Meeting will now come to order. Roll call. Mr. Guanic.
Here.
Mr. Landwehr is absent. Mrs. Olson. Here. Mrs. Sari.
I'm here.
Mr. Granlund.
I'm here.
Mr. Johnson is also absent. And I am here. I'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda was posted throughout the district according to school board policy, published as a legal ad in the Superior Telegram, posted on the district webpage, and sent to the WNXR radio station for announcement. A meeting notice was sent to the connection for publication. First item is approval of the July 11th, 2022 agenda. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, consent agenda. You have in your packets the June 13th, 2022 regular board meeting minutes, which was the open and executive sessions. And next we have the treasurer's report, who, if Mr. Granlund, you would be so kind to give to us since Mr. Landwehr is done.
Thank you. The summary of the treasurer's report as of June 30, 2022. In the general fund, general account on June 30, 2022, there was a balance of $3,452,304.50 in cash and investments. Receipts of the 1st of July are not included in the June 30 balance were $20,676.97. And the disbursements for tonight's board meeting total $170,766.32. In the flexible spending account on June 30, 2022, there was a balance of $30,685.41 in cash and investments. Health reimbursement account on June 30, 2022, there was a balance of $8,210.63 in cash and investments. Debt service fund on June 30, 2022, there was a balance of $673.36 in cash and investments. And there is a way more detailed report of fund activity for people who want to look at that. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Granlund. We all have enclosed in our packets the invoices, so we will move forward to the resignations and or employment.
Elizabeth Dahl, part-time high school library paraeducator, resigning. Krissa Wicklin, part-time early childhood paraeducator. Cheyenne DeRozier, part-time special education paraeducator. Cheryl Jardine, part-time 4-year-old kindergarten paraeducator. And today we received a letter of resignation from Kaylee Davis, 5th grade teacher at NES. She found a position that was closer to her home. Move on to employment.
Yes, please.
Okay. Samantha Vetch, 0.5 FTE to full-time elementary contract. The staff at NES are very excited to be able to bring a licensed teacher back into the library media role. Mrs. Sam Vetch has worked in the school district of Maple for the past 2 years. Her first year as a 5th grade teacher and her second year as a part-time technology integration role. She'll be combining her current technology integration role with the library media support position under the direction, of course, of Brianne Nelson, who is the certified media specialist. We have Dustin Anderson, transitions coordinator at Northwestern High School. He will be replacing Laura Pulaski. Karen Johnson, contracted substitute bus driver for 22-23. Candy Steria, elementary library paraeducator at Northwestern Middle School, administrative assistant, moving to that position. Kim Anderson, food service assistant to early childhood special education paraeducator. Terry Larson, food service assistant to special education paraeducator. And Whitney McKercher, food service assistant, cafeteria assistant to special education paraeducator. That concludes.
Okay. Wonderful. If there aren't any questions, do we have a motion for the consent agenda? Motion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Approval items, 2022 to 23 food service and meal prices.
At this moment, Cody has informed us that we have not received anything to date about the meal prices, but what we did receive is that there's no free again for this year. So Cody, do you have more to fill in here?
Our federal government's kind of been wavering back and forth on whether or not to continue the free meals for our students that have been as part of COVID. So literally just late last week, we found out that the meal prices will be coming back. Free and reduced process will be kind of what we knew before COVID. But we don't have enough information because we spent the last couple of years of this free meals for all of our students. So as we kind of talked about our recommendation, we will push out our meal prices that I don't know yet because we just got this information last week. I'll be working with Ms. Wickland and Food Service to set our minimum meal prices, but I guess the board motion would be to set our lunch ticket prices to the minimum requirement. That the government allows us to set.
Okay,
And then from there, we'll push that information out in a couple of different venues to our parents. So they're aware of what the meal prices will be starting in September.
Like they won't make the news of your schools?
I
think so.
I don't believe we're gonna have that information. It's late in the game. It really is for this particular item. But like I said, we just found out late last week that the federal government made the decision not to continue the free meals for all this school year.
But they're not, I thought I read that they were extended for 3 months, so if it was ending in June 30th. No?
No,
That's okay.
what we're getting right now is basically it's gonna go back to kind of life before COVID.
That's when the school year starts.
Yes.
and with that.
So a little bit of that
breakfast-
extension was under some of the summer school programming for food service, which
We don't do.
we don't do summer school food service.
But breakfast, will that include the breakfast, because that was free before COVID, wasn't it? Or did it just depend on?
Depending if they qualify for free lunch, they got free breakfast. But if they filled out the free and reduced lunch form,
They were getting free breakfast. Okay, so then what you're saying is that if we need a motion to accept a minimum.
Minimum, so yeah, minimum required each ticket
Minimum
price
required.
is what we would want to do. Again, that price, once we know that, we'll get it pushed out. But it'll be the minimum.
we're not trying to go above what the minimum is.
Keep it as low as possible.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
If you know what it was.
Minimum meal
The
ticket
minimum
price.
prices
Minimum.
for the
That's what I
22.
said.
Yeah, that is what you said. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Yeah.
Opposed?
You don't need a roll call on this?
No, because we're not spending the money the parents
Okay.
unfortunately are.
We will on the next one, though, the milk bids, which we're getting to next. Milk bids.
Yeah.
Milk, we need milk. Anybody who's bought milk over the last couple of months realizes its price has gone up. We put this bid out, Ms. Lavin, with the meeting on it, I'm 6 days into this job, so I'm just reporting the information that she has, but we had 2 bidders come back. The third bidder indicated that they weren't interested in bidding just due to the volatility in the market right now, so Kemp's and Reinhardt are our 2 bidders. With Kemp's coming in at the lower cost or the lower bid of the 2. Prices will be up from what they were last year.
40% increase.
It's a huge jump, yes. We served about 217,000 half pints of milk throughout the year. And on average, I know there's different flavors there, obviously, but it's about 10 cents on average per cart is what we see the difference in. So, but they are Kemp's the lower bid by a fair amount as well, so they should provide it to you. So,
Anybody have any more questions?
Does it matter how many times a week they come?
we talked to Jackie Food Service, and she said we can make this work. Yeah, twice a week will yes, the appropriate storage that we need to hold over. So that was part of the conversation that we had.
So do we have a motion to accept the Kemp's bid for the milk?
I'll make a motion to accept the Kemp's bid.
Second by Gail.
Gail seconds. And we will need a roll call vote for this. So, Mr. Blonick,
Yes.
Mrs. Olson,
Yes.
Mrs. Sari,
Yes.
Mr. Granlund,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries. Next item is 2022-23 employee handbook and revisions.
And you have the handbook, it's enclosed in your board packet, as well as the list of revisions and changes and rewrites. Once approved, the handbook, as well as a separate list of changes, will be posted on the employee access webpage. So people will be able to see just the changes, just like you are, and not have to go through the whole handbook.
Is this from the federal government?
No. You talk about the
Just spending their funds. Is that their requirements, spending federal funds?
That's
That's
the,
it.
that's the next.
Oh, that's the next one, okay.
I have a question.
Oh,
I actually have a few questions with this. First of all, as I looked through it, is there any way that we could add the pay scale and include that in the handbook?
I don't know, I mean, we've never done that before.
It used to always be in our,
Master agreement?
I'm looking, I just happened to pull one from, I had from 2012. And it has the salary, the pay scale, it has the pay scale for coaches, for activities, for like hourly wage for taking tickets. It'd just be nice to have all of that in a
All
one-stop shop, yep.
I don't have a problem with doing that at all. If
That way, I
that's-
think teachers, it's clear to them too on that pay scale where they,
I was surprised it's not in there.
yeah, and I know Superior has it in theirs and it'd be nice to just
It-
have a one spot for everything.
I'm just saying, I arrived in 2015, and since then it hasn't been, but I have no qualms at all adding it if that's what the board's pleasure is.
Do we,
I guess I don't know if there was a reason why that was.
It probably was, it might have been something to do with Act 10 possibly, I'm not sure.
Can I defer to Peggy since she was here prior to?
I just wanted to say that we were still under master agreement at the time. That's why it was in there. It doesn't mean we can't put it in now, but that's why it was in there. And then once you were no longer under master agreement is when they took it out. That's
Gotcha.
neither here nor there, but was the reason why it was in there the first time.
I guess I would like to see it in this week because it, like I said, it'd just be, and some other things, just financial, just so the teachers have an idea of, if they're thinking of taking a golfing coaching job or taking tickets, it'd just be nice for them to see, okay, well, where would that bring me?
I get
That's a good point.
no problem if that's what the board, you would make a motion then, and in your motion include to add all salary schedules, and that would cover it.
I make a motion that we add all salary schedules to, the employee handbook.
I remember we did have the stuff, all of that in there at one time too.
mhm.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Granlund beat you by a little bit there.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also, can I ask another question too?
Yeah.
On page 50, under job vacancies and postings, under procedure, I'm not sure what the word typically, and I'm sure there's a reason, but I'm not sure why. When the district determines that a vacancy or new position will be filled, the district will typically post a notice of such vacancy or new position for a minimum of 5 working days if reasonable and appropriate to do so.
I think the guess would be, it's 2 days before school's starting. And now we're going to post something for 5 days.
Okay,
If instead it's an internal posting, we would post it until filled.
so that's
Because
perfect, and
Yeah.
that's, so when it says if reasonable and appropriate to do so, that's.
Correct.
that's
that would be a perfect example where, whoa, we're stuck,
Okay,
can move faster.
okay, and then one more, on the layoff, recall, and at-will employment for support staff.
Are we on
It says-
page 51?
I'm sorry, now we're at 51, yep.
Okay,
Where it says does not include contracted bus drivers. Is that the position that we're talking about as far as the contracted sub?
no, a contracted bus driver would be because they're in the union.
They're not union anymore though.
Oh, that's right, they just turned to not being.
Right. They're not union, yeah.
Yeah. Good question. Because
Uh-huh.
your employment with the school district is at will. This means that either you or the district are free to end your employment at any time. So they would become at will because they are not, however, by state law, it says you have to contract all your bus drivers. That's a state law. I don't know why it's a state law, but it is, and that would include anyone who's driving our vehicles. So I don't know that we could go against the state
I
law.
was just curious as
Yeah.
to why they were not
Separated.
part- Yes,
Yes, and
that's all.
now that I'm looking at that state law component, and we learned this year that even our sub drivers, we have to give them a contract because the state law says they're driving, even though they're
Yeah.
driving, sporadically. My understanding would be that that's because of the state law that you have to hand a contract to a bus driver statewide. So I wouldn't want that one changed unless we were to get legal advice that we could go against the law, something like that.
I was just curious why
Yeah.
they were not part of.
Part of the at will. Because we have to tell them exactly what they're gonna get paid, it's all gotta be in that contract.
Any other comments or? Okay. Revision policy number 6114, which is cost principles and spending federal funds.
This is the Neola adding the paragraph. Any questions about this one addition? Because everything else was the same. And a lot of the policies that we had really were just technicalities, technical type of changes, but this was not because of the SO3 funding.
Anybody have any questions or discussion? If not, we can take a motion.
Motion to approve the revision policy 6114.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving right along. Next, we have the child risk plans for elementary, middle, and high school.
Right, the at-risk plans, it's new under the state statute that you are required to have them for 22, 23, 118.153 subparen 2. And both elementary schools are together in one, then the middle school, and then the one that doesn't have cover is the high school.
Were you wanting to say something, Gail? I couldn't hear.
I was looking for the one for the high school, but I see it doesn't have the.
It doesn't have a cover, correct.
Cover.
Right.
Correct, okay.
How do they figure graduation rates?
They do it based off of 4 years. So even though we have so many super seniors and they come back and they actually do graduate, we don't necessarily give credit for that. They say you have to within 4 years. However, we still follow through and have our Celis program, and Jenny Forsyth helms them perfectly. I mean, she has a great track record, but it doesn't necessarily help our graduation rate because it's not within those 4 years.
But I understand this year, everyone graduated. I just think the ones that started this year, the ones that started.
She's talking about those who graduated, but then we still had some that were super seniors, they call. Mhm. So she, again, had a fabulous track record.
I see that we have on here it's listed grades 5 through 12. So I somewhere I read,
That's why we had to have a separate one for middle school.
right, but we have people that are targeted for that 5th grade.
They do.
Do that, okay.
They do. Yeah. Because the data will show you that by 5th grade, they can be deemed at risk, especially if the reading level isn't high enough.
Yeah, I was just asking because the people that seem to be involved in that are like more high school.
Mhm.
So the 5th grade, I don't know if they have an elementary person other than the counselor and.
Well, Brad is our guru for data. He's on top of that along with the reading specialist. And the teachers are looking at that data.
A lot of it, I just drew it to kind of get a pretty consistent with this, but part of the hurdle.
Okay,
Do you need a motion on this?
we need a motion.
It's a new statute.
I make the motion that we approve the at-risk plans for elementary, middle, and high school.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Gail. Motion carries. Next item, adoption of the Wisconsin Model Standards, Common Core Standards, and National Science Standards for the District 2022-23.
Again, this is a yearly requirement, and this would be the month that we have to make sure that we get it done. And then it gets published also in the news of our schools to the public, that these are the standards we're using.
I make a motion to accept the Wisconsin models and standards for Common Core standards for the national science for the school district for 2022 and 2023.
Ms. Sari made a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second from Mrs. Olson. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Cesa 12, property purchase.
How many
sorry.
people were able to attend the Zoom? 1, 2,
I did,
good, and you did, Gail? Did not?
I did, yes.
Okay, thank you. We only had one who didn't do his homework.
Oh,
Love you.
It's all in here.
It was pretty
Yeah.
clear, I thought so. But I'm glad to hear that you feel so because you were present. Can you talk a little bit about how you felt as a board member at the CISA meeting?
Yeah, so the CISA 12 meeting that I attended was, they've been looking at this for quite a few years. And this last whole year, they put options of, they need a new building. It doesn't meet their needs, and it's all, I don't know how many have been there. So that Dr. Nick Madison that was here, he's He's done a lot of work, and if you look at all the options, the option we have right now is buying a building, and it's a big cost, $450,000. But if you look at the other options, there's a lot more. So they have a accepted offer on this, and they're still working on some of the details. But like if this doesn't go through, then you can see the other costs are so much more that it's huge. It would be disappointing to go a different route. So there was a couple options how to spend the money, how to pay for it, and actually the smaller schools came up with that $26,500. So if we would have went, they had 3 different options how to pay for this. One was using your how many students you have divided it up each student. So like between us, Superior, Hayward, and Ashland, some of those other would have cost us a lot of money. So the smaller schools actually they use it very heavily, so they know how valuable CESA 12 is to them. We don't use it as much, but we still own it, so we're part of it. So the smaller schools realized that, and they came up with a smaller dollar amount for the bigger schools, and they're actually they pay more than any other option on there. So they're willing to increase their payment and help us out.
By sharing it equally.
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, everybody paying the same.
So percentage-wise, it's more out of their budget than.
Correct, yes, and some quite a bit more of small schools.
Yeah.
I don't know, did I get everything?
You did. And this is a money one, so you would have to.
But having CESA, just having CESA has saved us money.
Oh,
in
yes.
areas.
We wouldn't be able to find an audiologist or eye person or.
And this particular purchase is the cheapest way to go. I mean,
Right.
that's the cheapest
Yeah.
one that they had. Well,
Absolutely.
We're super lucky to even have that building right down the road.
Yeah.
Just for information of those, there. Option 1 was $12 million.
Yeah.
Option 2 was $5.5 million. Option 3 was $4.75 million. Option 4 was $3.84 million. Option 5 was $2.3 million. Option 6 was $2 million. Option 7, the one that we're referring to now, is $450,000. It's
split
purchasing,
between all.
purchasing another
Between
building.
17, correct.
I know, when I was on the Board of Control, we were looking at different options, and there was, at that particular time, there was no building that would be something we could, the CESA could move into, so I'm glad that they were a phone building that we don't have to spend so much money. So I think it's a good option. This is the 7th option that they have on the list.
So the CESA 12 property purchase, which is us considering the approval of the CESA 12 Board of Control resolution to purchase real property for CESA usage, which was the option 7 is on the table. And do we have a motion to approve it?
I have made a motion to approve it.
Okay, Mrs. Sorry.
And said we also could space it out, so the districts could space it out for a period of time, but they have to work that out with the CESA director.
And Cody can advise us if it's best to pay it over 3 years, or just if we can just do it and be done with it. So he can have that authority.
Yeah, so we'll just make the flat
I'll say
motion
one-
and it will be up to you.
One thing on that, if we decide to go 3 years, if every school did that, and it'd be up to each school, but that would have, and CESA would have to get a loan, so that actually would cost, you know what I mean?
That's right, yeah.
So they're kind of needing a one-time payment if we can, but
They're
Got
hoping,
Yeah.
Right, because then we pay interest.
you're right, so.
Got it.
but if we can't,
Yeah.
And they do need,
Full disclosure, it wasn't in the budget, it's not a significant, huge amount of money, but somehow we'll have to try to shuffle around and see what we can.
they do need, I think, 13 of the 17 schools to approve.
Correct. Correct.
yes. So we do have a motion from Ms. Sari. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
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 Oh, yeah.
I think we need a,
Oh, we need a
Yeah,
roll call
yeah.
because there's money with
Roll
this.
call, yeah.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do a roll call then. Mr. Glonick,
Yes.
Mrs. Olson,
Yes.
Mrs. Sari,
Yes.
Mr. Granlund?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries. So. Okay, good. And that had to be, you were saying, how many schools?
13.
I think 13 and 17.
Have to pass it
I
for this to go.
feel it'll end up being all. I mean, they can see that this has been worked on for years.
So let's hope that goes through. Okay, the next item, seclusion and restraint report for 2021-22.
And you have the report in your packet. It's required by the board for approval by September 1 of each year, and it'll go to DPI.
Everyone have a chance to look at that?
These numbers a lot or a little?
No, it's very little.
Very little.
Very
Yeah,
little.
it's,
No, that's not a.
it's down from what it has been previously.
Correct.
We typically have little numbers on that report. Last time.
No, because we don't want DPI questioning our
Yeah.
practices, and we can do anything else but restrain the student.
Right,
Exclude a student from trying.
Anybody have any more questions?
Do you
Just waiting to see if anyone else
Okay.
has anything else. If not, someone would like to make a motion to approve the seclusion and restraint report.
I'll do that.
Gail made the motion.
I'll second Gail's motion.
Okay, Mrs. Sari made a motion, seconded by Mr. Granlund. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, ridership cost and possible discontinuation of activity buses for 2022-23. And there were a couple of charts and as well as a last minute one that I think we all had placed in our packets.
Correct. The recommendation to discontinue the activity bus for fall and winter seasons, but maintain the 6 weeks season for the middle school track would be the recommendation. You have, last minute, you received actual data of how many times there were 0 riders on in September. Becky had one day where there was 0, Tony had 3, Mike had 5 days, and it's only 3 times a week. So, generally speaking, you have a total of 12 in a whole month. October, Becky had 1 day, no ridership. Tony had 3, Mike had 2. November, Becky had 2, no ridership, and 1 for Tony and 2 for Mike. December 2, Tony actually had a rider every single time that month. 4 for Mike. January 1, 1 and 3. February 2, 2 and 6. March 1, 1 and 5. April 3, 2 and 7 days of no riders for Mike. May 4, 4 and 9. That's a lot of money at $43.16 per student per ride. It is my responsibility to bring possible cost savings so that there can be monies for other things to the board. If you add up all the days of the school year with no ridership, we paid $12,192.18 in salaries. I'm not talking about the miles, but just in salaries for no ridership on those days. I would strongly recommend that we do not have the activity bus except for the 6 weeks where we do see ridership for that middle school track. It would be all of April and the first 2 weeks in May. We would have it for them.
It's weird that there's more riders that time, but there's more days that didn't have riders that time.
Yes.
Doesn't make sense.
I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation.
We have a motion from Ms. Sari,
Yeah, we'll discuss
Yeah.
after.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Is there, what is the fee, right? Nothing, right?
Nothing for the kids, it's all the cost. So for example, the top part of that chart shows you that it costs us $16,618 just in the cost of the mileage. And then it shows the wages were $17,088 for at about $26.39 for the wages for it. So you add those two together, it's a $33,706.58 dollar amount. We're not gonna save that completely because we're gonna keep it for 3 routes, 3 people, for 6 weeks. But we would be eliminating a good bulk of it because of the low ridership.
The last time we went and voted for, I was in favor of keeping them. But of course, he's numbers now
Even worse.
tell a different story, and the fact that we need to find some money for this and that. And also I contacted another district in a part of the north, which is a huge area, and they don't have activity buses. So I don't know how many other part of the north do provide them, but I'm not sure, but I know, Schooner doesn't.
They're large,
They're, I think, probably the only one that's bigger than us as far as area.
Drummond is pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
If they're not in the heart of the north.
No, they're not in Hardin.
Well, I've always been, the strength of our district in elementary school is the great staff and the parental involvement. And then when you get older, I think the strength is, again, great staff and then the involvement of the kids and all the activities. Not having an activity bus is gonna hurt that, but we just don't have the numbers. I was a proponent of keeping it before, and came here tonight thinking the same thing, but I'm not sure if we can do it, because there are a lot of issues that are coming up, financial.
And I think that the coaches and the advisors, I think, are going to be, just because that's who, those are the people we have, that they're gonna go above and beyond to, maybe in the first practice or the first, they're gonna say, okay, they'll figure it out. I think there's somebody, it's not like back when we were in high school. Our activity bus was full because no one drove. We just didn't, it's not like it is today. It's so different. So
But
many
remember,
kids
we paid a
drive.
quarter to get on?
Oh, is that what it was?
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go very far, guys.
No, but that,
Yeah,
So
right.
it's like-
so it did.
I feel for people, kids that don't have, I think as much as individual students are driving, I'm hoping that, I don't know how that works as far as legalities go for ride sharing, but hopefully
Well,
something.
and I think the other thing, I know, it is, I was back and forth too, because I don't, you wanna try to do everything you can so that kids have opportunities. But the other little thing that I was thinking about too is, if you have a kid who doesn't have a parent to pick them up, they still have to have the parent to pick them up at their drop-off point from the bus, because the bus doesn't go from house to house to house, it stops at gas stations, or in my case where I live, it stopped in the middle of nowhere. And I remember times where, when I would go to meet the activity bus to pick up my child, where, if their parents weren't there, it was almost, in some cases, it was almost a little more dangerous, because it was like 40 below and they're in the middle of nowhere, and they're, versus being at the school. So, there's pros and cons to both, but yeah, I think that given the fact that we just don't have the numbers.
I guess again, there was what would we do if a kid comes up and can't, doesn't have a ride home, or really wants to be an activity? Try to, that be it for the coaches or the teacher leading the activity, or?
What, to try to help?
Yeah.
That's a good question, because Mike and I were having a conversation about that before the meeting, and he said they've got so many sport activities from elementary on, and parents already are friends and have shared telephone numbers and such, so that type of activity is happening already. So I don't know if you would reach out to, past parents, I don't know how that would exactly.
And this isn't just sports, it's like musical.
Musical, correct.
And drama.
Forensics.
Forensics, they make use of this service as well.
I wouldn't want to put that as a new job description on our coaches. I wouldn't want to do that. But when you told me that past, leagues and such have connections, families with already, and it's developed, it made me feel a little better.
I know most sports have the T-Reach app to it. It's easy to put on there. I mean, yeah, my kids are right today.
Oh, there's an app?
Oh, yeah.
There's an after.
It works really good.
Okay,
It's a new world.
And I,
I mean, it is simpler than it used to be.
okay,
Sure.
that's great.
and I'm certainly not advocating to put that on coaches, but just from being a coach, you kind of the very first day you're meeting with your student, your athletes, or your whatever you're coaching, those things are always covered. So if, hey, is anyone going by Highway 53 by whatever? As far as that goes, just putting it out there. Other kids might need a ride.
That's a liability issue possibly.
Well, and that's
so-
what I'm saying. Legalities wise, I'm not
Yep,
sure.
they'll figure it out.
But they ride together anyway. That's like when we had COVID and they had, their 6-8 kids are cramming together in a car, so to get a ride home. It's not the best situation, but
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries.
So my understanding with the motion is that it was as presented, meaning the 6 weeks of middle school track, all of April, first 2 weeks in May is okay. That's how I'm taking it.
yes.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
But that includes all students during that
Yeah,
time.
all students during that time, it just happens, the bulk is all middle school track.
Well,
Right.
and a lot of high school and track too, they're
True.
always over.
True.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
next item is, this is discussion on class sizes for 2022-23.
Okay, you have the recommendation that's already been approved, the board is already apprised of it. However, if we were to have increases to 25, we would be coming back to the board for further discussion and again, digging even deeper into fund balance, which is not the goal. But at this time, you have all of the numbers before you for 21, 22, and 23 in the second grade. However, your 4K numbers of 21, 21, those are very high as well. The difficulty with the 4K situation is space to put them and finding a half-time 4K teacher. It's nearly impossible. They had to not have Head Start last year and have those kids brought into our district. And so that's where that became a problem. They finally found someone this year, is my understanding. Question, Sherry?
I don't think we have that
I'm
every
looking to
class.
see if they have that spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet that would have been sent out about a week or so ago, Peg, the one from Mr. Larrabee that had all the numbers updated for all of the classes.
You said it from your email.
It was an email a while back.
Yeah, it was probably, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Did you want me to go get that and printed?
That's okay.
Okay.
It's just included in board packets and I thought it was in here. It says included.
I know what, it was a long time ago, like 2 weeks ago, that it did go in. Peg, I don't know that you put it in a second time, correct?
No, I don't know, but Sherry, I can sure go print one out for you if you'd like.
I got my phone, so if it was sent to
Yeah,
me.
Yes,
And it was a Google Share Doc from Mr. Larrabee.
But it would have been me forwarding it, so if she were to Google it, she would probably be under my name, correct, Meg?
I would assume so, yes. We asked Mr. Laird for the latest and greatest.
You did.
I actually have. Oh, so my turn.
Oh,
And that's current as of when we left.
which would have been June 30th, I think.
Do we have anybody signed up to this time?
I didn't get any forms.
Okay, no forms.
I mean, the biggest concern for that, most of the parents and some of the staff, is the second grade is a little bit more attention needed for that class. So, if you look at the numbers, are, you know, if you look just at the numbers, it's fine, because my son Jordan's in third grade, he's always had 22 kids in the class, so that's never been a problem for him. It's just that second grade, which we kind of watching what grade has been affected most from the pandemic, and maybe it's that class, maybe it's that young, that missed some of the other stuff, which is behind. I think that's mostly the concern. Part of the concern is though having teachers move around. You know, they're. I'll use her say this for her. She's been at second grade for a while. Jordy's gonna be not happy when I tell her. But so, you know, she's been teaching second grade for a while, and then she has to move to fifth grade now, which I know they can do that, and I know they're capable of doing that. But like any job, you get good at what you're doing, and then now you gotta switch to those kids. But so I think that's kind of tough on the whole staff, just as the morale, you know, value to that, to keep their spirits up. You never know if you're gonna bounce around, you know. I think this is a good example that shows me that this is maybe, I hope it never comes back, but this is why you don't close schools, because these kids have affected their time. This face takes me off because still can't talk. Sorry, I didn't think I'd be like this. But so there's some concern there, but you know, they've been behind because they've lacked of what being in school when they were young, 4K and before that. So, you know, there's just a lot of concern, which I truly understand, but at the same time, we're at a crunch for money, so it's just natural to use these classes. But I do like that we have a number of 25, so that,
Yep,
you know,
you
if we
did
get
25
that,
in all three, you bet. But then, I would not mind at all if I had the authority to do that and to bring that to the board in August, because there's no vote tonight. There's no vote, it's a discussion. But if we were to bring it to August, that the moment we hit 25 in all three classes, you are transferring the authority that I can go ahead and post. Then I'm not waiting until September. Instead, I could have someone on board. That would be lovely. That would untie my hands, because I can't even post for another teacher without a board meetings, call a special meeting and such. But if you gave me that kind of authority at the 15th of August, and let's say all of a sudden the 20th of August, we hit 25, great, we're posting, because the board already gave that authority. So is that okay for me to bring it back for your consideration at August board meeting?
Absolutely.
Would that be all right?
It's fine with me.
Okay. Because that would be lovely, because I could have someone then on board. But without that, it's a whole, call a special board meeting. Now I gotta get you heard you like cats, get you in here, you know.
And right
As
now,
long as the board is notified that, you know, you need to move on with that when it gets to.
Well, if it gets to that, if it does.
Yeah.
Okay,
and right now it's to be
it's 21,
21.
22, and it's 23. And I asked Mr. Larrabee, why couldn't we make the 23, you know, take one and put a student in with the 21 and make it more even? And he said, we don't do that because people have requested certain teachers, and it's very carefully done. I've seen the process. It's a very carefully decided which kids need to be separated, which kids, so you have high, medium, low, and you want a homogeneous type of grouping, so you have more time to address student needs, rather than all being low in one particular class. So as a new student comes in, then they fill in. That's how he explained it.
That 25 would also be fourth grade too, right? I mean,
No, fourth grade is totally different, that I wouldn't, no. I wouldn't be coming to you if it hit 25 in fourth grade, absolutely not. Second grade is unique. I see second grade as demanding for reading, demanding, they don't have a kind of independence
K, 1, 2, nursery, 3, 4, 5.
to learn.
Not that I'm not.
Okay.
But you do see the difference.
I do, that's, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else before we move on? Okay, administrative report. Dr. Cohen, communications received?
Yes, thank you from Debbie Johnson. That was a lovely note. Part-time paraeducator for the memorial sent to her mother. Minutes from the June 13th Building Grounds Transportation Committee meeting, and notification from DPI that Northwestern Elementary School was recognized by the Wisconsin RTI Center and the DPI for implementation in reading, the bronze level, math, the bronze level. Northwestern Middle School recognized for implementation in reading, bronze level, and math, bronze level. Congratulations to all of those teachers at all those grade levels, K through 8. Should I move on to school handbooks?
Yes, please.
Okay. To answer your question, the USB drive is a lot of work. That is a lot of reading, especially as a new board member, but I promise you, once you get through it, as a new board member, it's not gonna be tough in the future, because then all you'll have to do is read the one-pagers of what the changes were. But this first year, yeah, it's a bugger. And so then, the August 15th board meeting, we will expect those to be approved. However, if you've got questions, you need to contact the individual principals. They are back, is it the 2nd of August or more like the 5th of August? 5th of August. And so it's fair game to be calling them if there's any questions that you've got on the handbooks, because we will expect that those get approved then. We want all questions ironed out before then. Otherwise, it would take us forever through that meeting. Maintenance report is you, Cody.
Yeah, I talked to all our head custodians, they're, across all our buildings, our custodial staff are elbows deep and cleaning out rooms, waxing floors, so all the reports going well. I've gotten through a little bit of vacation season for our custodial staff, so most of it's back and we're off. If you walk the hallways, you'll see classrooms spilled out into the hallways themselves.
Baby's first maintenance report.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Officially 5 days in the job.
It's six.
Six.
Yeah,
Don't show
Day
me.
6 today, so yeah, I feel completely settled in.
Okay. You have nothing on your walls. It looks so bare.
No, Paul still has his pictures up there. So
Gee.
go get them. So
Use his.
I'll use his for a while.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fetchcotter. Next is WASB correspondence and legislative report. Mrs. Olson?
So bad news on Wisconsin. Report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum found that Wisconsin has not kept pace with national growth in public education spending. We now rank 25th in the nation. In 2002, we had, Wisconsin had the 11th highest per pupil spending in the country. Policy Forum's report found that Wisconsin had the 3rd smallest increase of any state in the country, behind only Idaho and Indiana. And Sarah Shaw, who's the senior education policy researcher, was quoted as saying, "It would seem reasonable to guess that Wisconsin's ranking may fall further over the next 2 years because of the growth in revenue limits." So Estimated general school aid is announced July 1st, and it's just an estimate, unofficial. And it's basically intended to assist districts to develop their 22-23 budget. The official amount will be released October 15th, but according to DPI, 290 districts in Wisconsin are estimated to receive more. 126 are estimated to receive less, and 5 see no change at all. Maple, as of now, should see a 4.75% increase, which totals about $342,798. Although lawmakers appropriated $5.2 billion for general school aid, which is an increase of 3.7% from last year, they did not adjust state-imposed school district revenue limits. So as a result, any new aid a district receives must be used to offset property taxes.
So our taxpayers are happy, we got nothing.
I was gonna talk about the lunch. That was something that was put on the blog. Basically, they were extended for 3 months, which I understand now is for the summer.
That's my understanding, it's
Yeah.
a summer student food program,
Which we don't do.
Yeah. So I won't talk any more about that until we get more official word as far as what that is. Finally, the new bipartisan school and gun safety law includes additional resources for schools, children, and families. And it listed just a whole bunch of different things, but some of them that are specific to us and our mental health services anyhow. It's providing $300 million in funding through the Stop School Violence Act. So this money will flow through the U.S. Department of Justice programs and would be in addition to the $133 million in current funding. It can be used for paying for school security hardware, training for educators on school safety practices and violence prevention efforts. It will also provide additional support for mental health services to children and families, expanding two existing programs already to increase the number of trained pupil service professionals such as counselors, social workers, and school psychologists by providing $500 million each for the school-based mental health service grant program and school-based mental health service professional demonstration grant. Those programs currently are funded at $10 million each. Help states and school districts pilot innovative ways to recruit and train pupil service professionals, and provide $240 million over 4 years for Project AWARE, which stands for Advancing Wellness and Resiliency in Education, which provides grants to states to fund programs to help students to better understand their mental health concerns and help connect students and families to needed services. And there's a whole list of things that this additional money will go to, included in that then, safety law.
Thank you, Mrs. Olson. CESA 12 report, Mr. Blonick.
Yeah, so at Cesa 12, I was at the meeting, and the biggest thing was we have discussed is the new building. It was a heavy topic there. So
Yeah.
I'd be happy to hear that we go.
Yeah. When will they know if they can, I suppose, after everybody meets
Right,
this
we're
month,
one
it's
of
on
the
everyone's
first
agenda?
meetings because we are the second week of the month. Many of the boards meet the third week of the month. But they were asking us to make sure we got it done in June. It's not June, excuse me, July.
July. Okay, thank you. Donations.
None this month.
All right, any student, staff, or community recognition? Okay, next up we have comments from the audience. The comments from the public agenda item is not the forum for school district of Maple personnel concerns. The public needs to refrain from the use of names or specific positions when used in a negative behavior. If you have concerns that involve personnel or staff, please contact the building principal or the superintendent. Do we have any comments from the audience? Okay.
Hi. Kelly B. I'm from Auckland. You can remember me. Sarah Reifert from Lincoln England. Kayla Bond from Public. Kaylee Davis from Bynum. And we've written something to share with you. Hello and thank you for your time. We come here tonight to advocate for the children here at Northwestern Elementary. to advocate for the child that goes hungry, the child that isn't read to, the child that watched their parents fight, the child that slept on the floor, that doesn't know when their next meal is. We're advocating for the children that are tired and scared and lonely, the children that view school as their safe haven. We're also here to advocate for the students that are gifted, those that are above grade level that need supplemental material to keep them engaged and enriched. We're here to advocate for the students that fall in the middle, the students that are meeting all their benchmarks and goals we've set for them. We're here for you to see us and hear us as their teachers. We are here because, like you, we know that increasing the number of children in a classroom is wrong. We're here because class sizes of 25 students and over are not sustainable or best practice. Smaller class sizes allow for teachers to give them specialized quality instruction that is aimed at what each student needs. More students allow less individualized or small group time. We know that having smaller class sizes also builds strong relationships between teachers and between all of the students. We're not only teachers, we are these students' constant. We need to love and teach and care for each and every child for their needs and their well-being. We need to give them tools that will make a difference in this world and be the best people they can be. We're not just a number or an employee, we're their teachers, their counselors, their nurses, their caregivers, their confidence, their coaches, and so much more. We praise them for their successes and pick them up when they fail. We teach them life lessons they will need for the rest of their lives. So we ask you, have you been in a classroom of 23 students? Have you been a constant for 23 little human beings? Have you spoke to 23 different sets of parents, all wanting what is best for their child, and have had to look them in the eye and say, this is what's best for your child? We may be the second grade team, we're advocating for all students at MES. We want the best and highest quality education possible for these students. We want to know their favorite colors, their food, their jokes, their pets, and everything. We want to know them as people as well as our students. Smaller class sizes will allow us to do this so that we can help them reach all of their school and life goals.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. With no further comments then, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Good motion. Make a motion. Motion from Ms. Wilson, do we have a second?
Second, thank you.
Second, Mr. Glonick. And all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.